In conversation with C.L. Schneider, Cynthia L. Schneider is an award-winning author of immersive fantasy fiction, including the Crown of Stones Trilogy and the Nightfire series. While fantasy is her main focus, she also pens the occasional horror or apocalyptic tale. Born in a small Kansas town, Sinida resides in New York scenic Hudson Valley region with her husband and two sons. To learn more about the words she creates, please visit our website at www.clschneiderauthor.com
Okay.
or connect with C.L. Schneider on social media, where she's an active part of the indie author community. And on today's episode of Author Interview, it's my utmost pleasure and joy to have on the show today Cynthia L. Schneider. How are you doing, Cynthia?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It is a beautiful sunny day, nice breeze blowing in the window, so I'm doing just fine. And you?
Absolutely. Hey, I'm doing fine too, actually. It's lovely
Wonderful.
to have you on the show today. Quite exciting. We're having a
Thank
conversation
you.
around your literature works.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Cynthia, I see that you've written different types of books, ranging
Mhm.
from urban fantasy to speculative fiction, which I so much admire when it comes to genre. But then I would like us to start today's conversation with your Crown of Stone book series, which
Mhm.
Magic Price happens to be the first book in the series.
Yes.
Could you
Yes, it
tell
does.
us how this book series came about? What inspired the making of it?
Okay. Well, this is the first cover. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Beautiful. Yeah,
And you
beautiful.
can also see behind me, the
Yeah,
picture behind me has the trilogy there.
yeah.
Um, I've always been a character person, whether it comes to books or movies or TV shows. I need to latch on to a character for me to care. I
Mm.
can forgive a lot about the plot or the writing if I really care about what's going to happen to someone in the story.
Wow.
So when I started writing, I knew that I needed to focus on the character. That was what was near and dear to me. I've always enjoyed, superheroes and white knights as much as everyone else, but I
Mm.
was more interested in the darker side of the
Oh.
characters. What brought them to become a hero? What have they gone through? What have they suffered? What are they afraid of? What mistakes have they made? So I've
Mm.
always been drawn to conflicted characters who struggle with being the hero. So when I started writing Magic Price, the entire trilogy, which has now blossomed into six books
Yeah.
in reverse that I created, it all revolved around the main character, Ian Troy. I wanted to create a very flawed, conflicted character who didn't see himself as a hero. He didn't see himself the way other people do. He doesn't see what's inside of him,
Oh.
and he needed to evolve into becoming the hero that everyone knew he could be.
Wow.
I wanted someone whose greatest strength was their greatest weakness, which is his magic.
Wow.
He's incredibly powerful, but he's addicted to it like a drug.
Oh.
So he can do terrible things with it when he doesn't mean to because he loses control.
Wow.
So from
Wow.
him, everything was born from him. The magic system, his friendships and his loves and his losses and the entire world, everything came from developing that character.
Wow. Wow. That sounds quite compelling and quite, intriguing to me. Mere
Thank
listening
you.
to you talk about it this short while, it's quite compelling to me, really. So thank you. Thank you for mentioning. I love the sound of it. Thank
Thank you.
you. Also then you have Flashpoint, which is the first book
Yes.
in the Night Fast series. And if you have a copy there,
Yes.
I'd love you
I
to raise it
do.
up. So beautiful cover,
This way.
and it's
Sorry.
quite voluminous, even beautiful.
Thank
Now,
you.
for
Thank
readers
you.
who haven't read, Flashpoint yet, and without
Mhm.
giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what you'd expect in terms of
Sure.
themes picking up Flashpoint?
Absolutely. Flashpoint is the first in five books, so it is a complete series. It
Oh,
is a supernatural murder mystery with
oh,
shapeshifters, dragons, and parallel worlds.
oh,
The entire series is based on the fact that all of our creatures from our myths and legends actually exist, but on parallel worlds. rips form between their world and ours. The creatures come through, and that's where our entire mythology, all our urban legends, everything have come from, is these sightings that we have of these creatures that slip into our world and wreak havoc.
Mm.
So the main character, Dahlia, is a half dragon, half human shapeshifter. Let's see how I'm doing
Yeah.
this the right way. From a world ruled by dragons.
Wow.
She was an assassin for the Dragon Queen, and she fell out of favor. She did something wrong that the queen didn't like, and she
Oh.
was going to be executed. So she fled her
Wow.
world to ours. Since she's half human, she can blend in here, sort of. So for the last 100 years, she has protected humanity from all the creatures that live in the shadows that we don't know exist.
Mm.
But now suddenly there is a rash of murders, this supernatural serial killer that is leaving bodies behind that can't be explained. So things
Mm.
are starting to come into the light that she has tried so hard to hide. And so she's simultaneously solving the crimes while trying to cover them up.
Wow.
So each book has a monster of the week kind of quality where she's partnering with, the local police, and she's trying to solve these crimes and catch these monsters and send them back to their world. But there's
Mm.
also a global threat that runs throughout, that like evolves and runs throughout the entire series, that
Wow.
she and her group of cohorts that she gathers has to deal with by
Wow.
the end of the series.
Wow.
So lots of action, lots of urban legends and monsters. So
Wow. That's
it's so much fun
beautiful.
to write.
That's
Thank you. It was
beautiful.
such a blast to write. I
I
love urban
see.
legends series.
Yeah. Could you show the book to the camera again, just so we can
Oh,
see?
yes. Yes.
Beautiful. Would
That's
you
the
like to
first
talk
one.
about the cover and even how the title
Mhm.
come to be?
Sure, sure. The cover, I wanted to show, well, obviously she's half dragon, so you can kind of see
Yeah.
the fire coming off her hand there and the
Protagonist?
scales on her. And I wanted to show a little bit of her abilities. I wanted to show the monster. So there's some monster there on the cover that is
Mm.
threatening her. You can't see it so well here. But and then on the back you have the dragon queen
Oh.
a little bit. You see a little bit of her. Some of the other books you can also see some of her abilities as well
Wow.
on the covers. Flashpoint was really for me because there comes a point in the book where it all just kind of starts to fall apart for her. She
Wow.
has built this life where she kind of lives in the shadows.
Mm.
And now she's suddenly in this city. It's like this gritty, dark Gotham like city that I created for this
Mm.
series. And she's starting to make connections and she's starting to make friends and starting to care about people.
Oh.
And now these things, because she's always lived on the road, and now everything's being threatened,
Mm.
and it comes to a head where she has to make a choice. Can she reveal herself? Who does she reveal
Wow.
herself to? Who does she trust? It's kind of all falling apart, and humans are starting to see what's really in the shadows. And then there's going to be a big mess for that, of course, because what do humans
Mm.
do when they don't understand something? So they're all
Mm.
afraid that, if they find out all these worlds exist, rich in resources, and so it's this big ancient secret that she's trying to keep as well. And then of course
Wow.
you have the dragon queen who's hunting her. So it's just a lot that like comes together and kind of ignites this big mess that
Yeah.
snowballs throughout the series.
Yeah, this is quite amazing, really. I love the sounds of your books and I love your answers to these questions. It sounds quite compelling and quite absorbing to me. It sounds quite interesting as well. I love the sound of it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Welcome. Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, Cynthia, having authored different titles, I would like to
Mhm.
ask you, how do you react to feedbacks and criticism of your works? How do you handle reviews as an author, be it
Mhm.
positive or negative? Would you like to talk about that?
Well, in the beginning, of course, I think we all, feel the same way when you get that first really negative review. That's like a gut punch, that very first one, because you haven't developed that thick skin yet. I
Yeah.
remember, yes, I remember my first one was, and of course, I like teared up, because you want everyone to love this thing that you've created. But after a while, I mean, you got to realize that everyone's different. I
Yeah.
can read one review where someone says it's action packed and I loved it, and the next person can say it's slow. Like, are you reading the same book? So every book, every movie, they hit people differently based on their
Yeah.
own experiences, their own likes and dislikes.
Absolutely.
So it took, it takes a little while to grow that thick skin and be able to read them and let it bounce off. But
Mm,
I've been blessed that the majority of my reviews are very flattering, and people really seem to enjoy the worlds I create and the stories that I give them. So I try to take heart in that and hope that, I mean, at least the people who leave a negative review, they still read the book. They still read the book. So,
yeah.
any press is better, so is better than no press, I guess. But yes, the obviously the positive reviews hit differently. They're very heartwarming. I've had people reach out to me personally.
Wow.
The story about Ian and his addiction to magic, I've had someone reach
Wow.
out to me saying that, they are a recovering addict, and how I wrote him really touched them and they really
Wow.
identified with him as a character.
Mm,
I've had people who, say that my book got them through a stay in the hospital because they were able to immerse themselves in this world. So there's lots of things like that that really, keep me going, and so the others are easier to brush off.
mm.
So.
I love hearing you talk about that really, because you're talking about it remind me of when I started writing too freshly. And as a young writer, we're we're always on the lookout for the positive feedback, for the
Hmm.
positive reviews. And sometimes it's actually true. We know that, well, as you keep growing as a writer, you need to have it at the back of your mind that, yeah, there'll be
Hmm.
some times whereby people will say silly things about your writing and do not allow it to get to
Hmm.
you. But then, as somebody who is coming out gradually, feedbacks, negative ones particularly, and criticism can really, hurt someone. Yeah. I've been there.
Hmm.
I've had so much, I've had a feedback that nearly knocked me off from saying, okay, I'm not going to write again. Or I'm going to take a pause.
Right.
I'm going to, I'm going to step up a bit because obviously people are saying
Hmm.
that I'm not good, stuff like that. But as you continue to grow in your craft, as you continue to,
Yes.
keep writing and keep writing, you get to realize that
Yes.
these things are not really while it's fine to listen to some that are constructive,
Hmm.
that has a reason, that are genuine. It's also good to
Yes.
just ignore those ones that are a bit personal or those who
Yes.
authentically mix the entire message of what you're trying to communicate. And so
Absolutely.
as as an upcoming writer, somebody is starting freshly, taking reviews can be very, sad, depressing, or
Hmm.
demotivational. Yeah, let me use the word,
Oh yes, they can be,
demotivational.
absolutely. Absolutely. But if you read one where someone has totally missed the mark of what you were trying to communicate,
Yeah,
that book is not for them. But
absolutely.
the one thing I will add is if you do get a lot of reviews that all say the same thing, the negative thing,
Mm,
then you may need
mm,
to go back and take a look
absolutely.
at the story. Few
Yeah,
here and there, that's just different opinions and different, different people who are absorbing it
absolutely.
in their own way. But if you consistently get a lot that say the same thing, like the opening chapter is slow or whatever it
Mm,
is, that if it's consistent, then you might need to go back and take a look and say, oh well, maybe enough people have noticed this. Maybe I do need to do something different.
absolutely.
So that's just
Yeah,
a
yeah. Thank you. I love your take on that. Thank you. Now
you're
let's
welcome.
talk about inspirations and ideas. I've always been fascinated about how authors, especially novelists like yourself, craft long sentences and bring work together in a way that it eventually makes a great novel. I mean, you have a paragraph that make a page, another page that makes several pages that make chapters, and on and on and on. It keep
Mhm.
going. I have an amazing
Mhm.
huge book. Like I saw one of your titles is a bit voluminous. Yeah. Now this always leave me thinking about how exactly they got the idea to put this words together. I mean, writing, it's not an easy task, but then to find someone to be able
Right.
to put these words together, mix this thing together in a way that it makes sense and it makes a great book,
Hmm.
leave me thinking, how did they get the inspirations and ideas? And now, as far
Hmm.
as writing is concerned, I'd love to ask you too, how do you get the inspirations and ideas to write your books? Where did they come from?
See, there's multiple sources. I've never really been without an idea. In fact, I think my
Wow.
problem is I have too many ideas. I've got
Hmm.
about 10 books right now that I've either started or in my head or are on the horizon. I know I will probably be on my deathbed someday and like, no, I can't go yet. I still have 10 books to write. Um, some of it I draw a lot from nature.
Mm,
I love I love to travel, but even just walking in the woods, I will
mm,
see something that might spark something in me.
yeah,
Um, crystals, the moon, the star, just the sound of the
anything.
waves. I
Yeah.
have a lot of inspiration from nature. I always have. And I think just the human condition. How far can you push someone? What are they
Mm,
willing to do to save someone they love?
absolutely.
That's kind of where it just kind of comes from. Generally, it will come from an idea for a character, but occasionally it's an like with Dahlia in Nightfire. I wanted to do something with dragons. I wanted to do something with urban legends and shapeshifters, and so she was not. It wasn't quite as it didn't quite come together the same way as it did with Magic Price, but a similar way.
Oh,
I
oh,
started with what I wanted her to look like and her abilities, and she's empathic. She can feel the pain that others go through. She can wield
mm,
fire. So, well, his was more of an emotional start of like what he's gone through, and hers was more of like her abilities. So I went from
wow,
there. Um,
wow,
so it just like one of my other books, which I can talk about in a minute, was inspired by a dream that my friend had.
wow.
So it
Mm.
depends on, where it comes from. So
Wow, this is amazing, really. And I so much love and enjoy listening to writers talk about how they got their ideas and inspirations from. I've heard so many people talk, I get it from dreams that I have, from, day-to-day conversation, from things I see around
mhm,
me, from personal experiences. So many ways,
mhm,
of
absolutely.
writers deriving inspirations and ideas. That's quite beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Oh,
What nice hearing from you too. Yeah. Now, apart from Night Fire book series and the Crown of Stones series, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
I do. I actually have 12 published novels. So
Interesting.
there's five in Nightfire. After the trilogy and Crown of Stones, I started a new series where some of the characters leave that realm and they travel to other worlds and find new dangers. So I have two
Hmm.
books in that series. This is the first one in that series, The Wandering Isles.
Oh,
And then I just put out the prequel to The Crown of Stones, Troy.
wow.
So this
Oh,
just came
beautiful.
out a month ago. So this takes place
Wow.
15 years before the first book when he's a young
Oh,
soldier and he's just starting out in the war that shapes the trilogy.
wow.
This is my apocalyptic horror novella, Necrosis.
I love this.
This is the this
I
is the
love that
one
design.
that this is the one that was based on my friend's dream. And it's the
Oh,
story of a single mother who is fighting to keep her daughter alive at the end of the world.
wow.
So it's very emotional. It's a very short little read. It's a snapshot of a woman's life and what she has to go through and what sacrifices she'll make to keep her 9 year
Mm,
old daughter safe.
mm,
So and then I'm working on another apocalyptic story right now. It's an alien horror story called Wicked Tongue,
mm.
and that one will be out before Halloween.
Oh,
So after
interesting.
that, I have a witchy supernatural story called Rise. So
Wow.
I've got quite a few in the pipeline. So
Wow, that's quite a lot, really. That's quite a lot. And that's also an amazing works you're working on, really. That's quite, I can see it. All of these things are quite commendable to see writers have so many books written and all those one that they're currently working on. It's quite commendable. And I hope you find some times to sleep, really.
I know it's terrible. It's almost obsessive. It really is. It's bad. As soon as I get one out, I'm immediately starting another. Like as soon as I send one to my editor, while it's
Yeah.
off my plate, I immediately start,
Wow.
drafting the next one.
That's an
Um,
amazing one.
so
I love that. I
the
love that.
compulsion.
Your dedication is quite admirable. I love that.
Thank you.
I love
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
Now, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? Because I know that with different authors, there is something they consider publishing as, and publishing to them differs considering the genre that you write in. Now,
Mhm.
are there any challenges you've encountered in the process of writing your books and also ever since it got published?
Well, I've actually self-published every single one of these.
Mm,
I did start out querying, looking for an agent and an editor, and I actually with my first book years ago, and I actually got some great advice from one of the agents. And
Oh,
which was surprising. It was a personal message. He really liked the story, but he just had some pointers and it just wasn't ready for him yet. He didn't feel like. So I spent
mm,
like a year rewriting it. And
oh,
then by the time that year was done, I was extremely happy with it, but I didn't want to wait to get an agent and an editor. So I just self-published. And I
oh,
haven't looked back. I absolutely love self-publishing. I love the control that it gives me over the writing and the covers and the price. I really enjoy it, and I can set my own schedule. But I would have to say marketing, of course, is the biggest challenge.
yeah,
When I first self-published, it wasn't as crowded. The market wasn't as
mm,
crowded as it is now, and it
mm,
was much easier to be seen. Magic Price was my debut novel. I had no social media presence. I published it because it was my dream. It wasn't really, I had no marketing plan. I didn't do anything. And I ended up on like the Amazon hot new release, and I didn't quite make it to number one there, but I was close, and I didn't really do anything. There just
mm.
wasn't the huge glut of books self-published that there are now. So
Wow,
over the years, I've noticed how much harder it is to get noticed.
absolutely.
To, yes, it's the competition is so fierce. And now, of course, they have the AI books that are coming out, and that's just don't get me started in that. But it's just it's a lot harder. And it's terrible because you want to spend your time writing. You
Yeah,
don't want to spend your time marketing and thinking of new things to market and new ways to do it. And yes, I could hire, an assistant to do that, but I also
yeah,
like to have my hand in all the things that I'm doing. And I like,
absolutely.
again, that control of what I'm doing. So
Wow.
yes, I would say finding new ways to market, especially audiobooks. Most of my
Mm.
books are on Audible as well. And I've been blessed
Oh,
to work with some amazing narrators. I love
wow.
them all. They're awesome. But marketing audiobooks is tough because when you go through Audible, you don't get to set the price. You don't get to
Yeah.
put it on sale. You can't,
Mm.
so that's really tough as well. So that's the biggest challenge I think for me. It's not the writing, it's the marketing. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of, authors would agree with that. It's kind of like the
Absolutely.
necessary evil.
Yeah.
So,
Even the best of writers are still looking for more avenues to promote their
mhm.
work. So, and the sources of every business, and this does not only applies to writing alone, even whatsoever you're doing, be it a company or an organization, whatsoever, the success of a business lies in its marketing capacity and how much people are
Yes.
aware that you have a product out there, how much people are aware you have a book out there, how much people are aware that you have a product you're selling. Yeah,
Right.
and it's quite it is what it is. That this is one of the challenges that
Yes.
we
Yes.
experience as writers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you
Absolutely.
for sharing. I love the
Oh,
sound of
you're
that.
welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
And following on your admirable titles and bodies of literature works, I'm
Mhm.
tempted to ask what your goal in writing is. Why do you write? And what is your process of crafting the stories?
Mhm. I write to make people feel, to take them on an adventure, to
Beautiful.
immerse them in someone else's life,
Wow.
someone else's struggles. I mostly write first person, not all of them, but
Oh.
I write The Crown of Stones is in first person. So you really get pulled into his struggle with his addiction to magic, his quest for peace, like internal peace, peace for the realms, all of his losses and his heartaches, and it really pulls you in so you feel like you're part of the story.
Mm.
Nightfire is written first person as well. That's kind of what I want. I want people to be immersed in the story, forget about their lives for a while, and have an adventure, an escape. I want them to
Yeah.
throw the book across the room because they don't like what the character did. I want to make them cry. I want to make them laugh. So that's pretty
Mm.
much my goal. That's
That's
my
an
goal.
amazing,
And
that's
to
an
get all these books out of my head, that's also my goal. I got to get these books out of my head.
Absolutely. Because I think getting a book out of your head make you feel released, make you feel happy,
Yes.
and like, oh yeah, thank God I did this one this time around. Because I myself have
Yes.
so many books screaming in my head. Peter, write me.
Yes.
When are you gonna find the time to write me? Write me, write me, write. I'm like, excuse me,
Yes.
just give me some times. I need to rest.
I
So
know.
eventually putting them out and you have them published, be like, oh goodness, thank goodness I did this. No, the next one, okay. I have to rest a bit,
Yes.
then I'll catch up with you.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
releasing them.
It's yes, it's this relief that just like, oh, okay. And but it's exciting too because it's like it's out there. It's getting ready to get out there. It's going to be out in the world and
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Writing is such a fun journey, really. I love it.
It is. It is. It is. I do too.
Yeah. And I love your answers to this question, really. They're quite fun
Thank
too.
you. Thank
Lovely.
you.
Yeah. And as a
Thank you.
published author, I'd love to ask you too, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with writing
Mm.
and publishing a book in your genre? What would you advise people in this category?
Well, one of the things I see people post about and fret about a lot on social media
Yeah.
is things like book length and chapter length and how long should my chapter be and is this too long for this kind of genre or is this too that's one of the things with self-publishing I don't worry about too much.
Yeah.
I tell the story. I feel like a chapter needs to be as long as it needs to be. I have one chapter
Absolutely.
that's a half a page. I have one chapter that's 22 pages. You need to set the scene, tell the story of that scene, and
Yeah.
that's how long the chapter is. And I
Mm.
kind of feel that way with the books. Necrosis is really short because this is what the story needed. The
Yeah.
Crown of Stones books are over 500 pages long because that's what that needed to be
Mm.
told.
Yeah.
So I just it always bothers me when I see people worrying so much like, is my chapter too long? It's like, tell the story. The story will let you know, that
Mm.
scene will let you know when it's over, and then that's when the chapter's over. So
Absolutely.
that's one thing that I definitely see a lot of. And just, don't be afraid to share your stories.
Mm.
When I was young and before I published, I've been writing my whole life, but obviously things interfered, career, marriage, kids. I didn't publish
Yeah.
when I was younger. I waited until
Mm.
the kids were starting school. But one of the things that I think held me back was that I was so nervous that no one would like what I wrote, that I wasn't good enough. And I
Wow.
didn't share it with anyone for many years. And I did myself a real disservice because once I started sharing it with people, then I could get feedback. I could get,
Yeah.
and most of it was positive, which was, of course,
Absolutely.
fueled me to just write more.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. Don't keep it inside. I know it's personal. Trust me. It's like taking out your soul and handing it to someone.
Absolutely.
But it can be so invaluable to start sharing it with people you trust and people around you that
Absolutely.
can offer real insight and feedback.
Yeah, I
So
love your take on that. Real and insightful feedback. That's very
thank you.
necessary as far as writing is concerned. We all need
It
it.
is.
We all need it.
Yes.
Feedbacks are great. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you for mentioning that. And now, before
You're
we
welcome.
call it a day today, is there anything that you would love to share with the viewers about your books that we did not mention in this interview and you would
Hmm.
love the viewers to know? And just while you're contemplating your answer on that, I'd love you to show
Mhm.
all of your titles to the screen, one after the other. Yeah, maybe that'll be fine too. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. I don't have every book with me. I just have the ones that
Okay.
actually I do have a couple others here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what I have. Oh, I do have some here. Okay, so this is the first book in the Crown of
Crown of
Stones.
Stones, Magic Prince.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the second book where things go all crazy and
Mm.
everything's in jeopardy. And the third book wraps up
Wow.
everything up,
Interesting.
where
Wow.
he's like
Magic
held in the
Bond.
grip of a magic spell there. Let's see what else I might have here. Let's see. Well, I guess I don't have the rest of them with me. Um, I have a bunch. I have boxes actually. You can't see them. They're on the other side of my desk here. I had an event this weekend. I
Yeah.
love in-person events. That's one
Oh,
of my favorite things to do. So I had an
lovely.
event this weekend, and all the boxes that are still everything's still sitting in the other side, so you can't see it.
Oh,
But yeah, it was wonderful. I love meeting readers in person, and it was such a blast. But yeah, I don't think I have any of the other ones here with me. But this is the
the Wanderer Highlands,
Wandering Isles. Yeah, this is the first one in the continuing adventure series,
Crown of Stone.
where some of the characters leave and set out, and you can't leave the past behind, even how as hard as you try.
Hmm.
So they're still haunted by things that happened to them in the war, and they're trying to find, a new life, but of course, everywhere you go is new dangers. So
Mm.
I kind of
Wow.
like this. I kind of like this series because in the trilogy, it's like one giant saga.
Mm.
But the new series, while things carry over,
Yeah.
each land they stop at is a new adventure.
Wow.
So they're going to find new dangers and a new island or and new things that they have to deal with.
Wow. That's
So that's
amazing.
kind of fun.
That's lovely,
Thank you.
really. I love your take on this.
Thank you.
And then just
It
in
keeps me
case,
busy.
yeah, it's good, it's good. It's an amazing adventure. Yeah, it's a lovely skill too. Yeah. And just in case we have some viewers who are currently watching this interview, I would love to get a copy of any of your books. On what
Okay.
platform are they available on for purchase?
You can find them all on Amazon. A lot of them are available with Kindle Unlimited. You can find the entire Nightfire series is on Audible.
Oh,
Necrosis is on Audible. The first
wow.
two books in the Crown of Stones is on Audible, and he's working on the
Wow.
third right now. The rest will eventually get there. You can also find Necrosis and Troy are wide. They're not exclusive to Amazon. So these two you can find the ebooks at Barnes and Noble, Smashwords, Kobo.
Wow.
You can also just go to my website. All the links are there as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. Great. And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Saint books directly on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles on our website and also on other platforms. So thank you so much, Cynthia, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome having this conversation with you.
You're welcome. It was great. Thank you so much for having me. Take
Absolutely.
care.
It's my joy as well.